welcome back. 841, The Link, Pacific Points, Cabo Enterprises, IT&E, and Jack in the box. Morning, Jay. Morning, Bree, and morning, AG. Joining us in the KUAM News Link Zoom room, Attorney General Leevin Camacho. Good morning.
Hi, good morning, Chris. Good morning, Sabrina. Good morning, Jason.
Good morning. You were so giddy yesterday during that post-mortem commission meeting.
Yeah, if there's ever a time to be happy in those meetings, yesterday was a good meeting to have. So we welcomed a new member to the commission, Dr. John Titano. So we're giving him the credit with us having the good news to share that we have qualified applicants.
So what is it? Three applicants? Is that right?
We have 3 applicants. I believe 2 of them have already been rated eligible. They meet all the requirements, and with the exception of being licensed to practice medicine in Guam. So we put together a search committee, and in the next 2 or 3 weeks, we're going to get those interviews done and hopefully convene the entire commission and move forward with the process. So it's exciting. I think we have not gotten this far yet, where we've actually had not only 1 but 2 applicants. We have a 4th individual who's also interested, kind of as a backup. And the other news from yesterday's meeting was that we've added another forensic pathologist on contract to kind of build into the rotation, just to get people out there a little bit quicker as needed.
Is this one from Arkansas?
Correct. He's the chief medical examiner out of Arkansas. I believe his name is Dr. Brown. So I know one of the proudest moments, I was in a gas station and the guy called me Brown. And it's like, okay, it's kind of a little bit old school. So, but yes, we can call it Dr. Brown when he comes out.
What changed, AG, is because, we've been at this for, I want to say it's
2018.
Since 2018, right?
I will say we had so our office has been working with GMH to receive the applications and to rate the applicants. So we have an initial meeting just to explain the process, that we have a commission, that there's this whole process that we have to follow through. And although they've applied to our office, and just for everyone, I don't run the medical examiner office. I've kind of been operating in that role in the absence of a chief medical examiner. But all the individuals who have expressed interest have all brought up the advertisement that we put up online in the National Association of Medical Examiners. So we have a picture of a beautiful palm trees, and then we have the number of autopsies that are performed every year. So it's paying off. I think it's a couple $100 that we're paying for that ad, and we hadn't done it in the past. So it looks as though that those types of recruiting efforts are working.
So you got them on the old palm trees thing.
Yeah, you come in, and this is pre-rhino beetle days, right. So they're beautiful.
But I think one point that Dr. Taitito raised was, have they already started applying, right, for licensure? I didn't watch the whole thing. What was the end discussion on that?
So those are the types of issues that will have to come up in the interview process, during the interview process itself. I will say that the applicants that we've received currently are working in offices, so there'll have to be some transition time. That will have to be done on a case-by-case basis, but anything that we can do, I know the governor and her staff have really supported our office's efforts to get this done. And when we've needed, as an example, for Dr. Brown to get licensed quickly, they work with us to get all the paperwork necessary to get it submitted kind of as a temporary, I don't know if it's a temporary admission, but I'm used to that with the bar. Yeah. So I know that we're going to get cooperation on all levels. And Dr. Taitano, it sounded like, so can also support our efforts to move it as quickly as we can, given the timeline to transition into that, whoever the candidate that we select may be.
Yeah. So what is the timeline? How soon can we look at actually having a CME on board?
That's going to depend on the interviews and kind of the answers that we get and the availability of the doctors or whoever we end up selecting. So I just, on our side, we're doing everything we can to push it forward. Again, our timeline is within the next 3 weeks. We will have completed our interviews, and we'll make a recommendation to the board at the next meeting.
AG, when we do finally bring on whoever survives the interview process, what's going to be some of the first things that they're going to have to tackle when they start?
Well, the COVID situation obviously is the big one, and I know that there have been a lot of study or reports on just the state of the morgue and dealing with the number of bodies that are there. So that will be one. Staffing is the other one that they're going to have to deal with. I will have to give a shout out to Johanna and the morgue attendant over there. She testified yesterday. They're working 7 days a week sometimes 10 hours a day to deal with the flow over there. So they're really doing a great job. Once we can get a forensic pathologist on board and we're not having to rely as much on Dr. Abe from GMH, which is another partnership we've been able to set up to speed things along. As you guys recall, when I first came on, we had to work through a Saipan-based doctor who would fly out every 2 weeks. So right before we went into the public health emergency, we entered into an MOU with GMH to allow for their doctor to assist, and we just sped things up quite a bit. But again, my understanding is that just the number of deaths that we're having, unfortunately, has backed things up quite a bit. But on the other side, one of the reports that was given during the meeting yesterday, our office applied for a grant, about $250,000. So they've been slowly building out and modernizing a lot of the equipment and the facilities over there, including a new holding unit, which we look at procuring hopefully within the next few months. So we're doing our best to get it in a state that when the new chief medical examiner comes in, it'll be ready for them. Yeah.
Do you have an update to the Marbo Cave lawsuit? I know that there was some sort of a extension that was granted for Kepco and Samsung to, I think, follow a response.
I'm trying to use the Carlina said it's Sasadzin. I was saying Sasadzin, and so I don't know if she was explaining Sasadzin means a swampy area, which is not good when it comes to
well, that's what it is now.
Not building ponding basins. That's the last thing that you want. So we did file our complaint. I believe their answer or response to our complaint is due next week, Tuesday, and we'll just see where it goes from there.
I wanted to ask, because we had Senator Frank Blas Jr. on a few days ago, and he was mentioning that he's written you a bunch of letters relative to the audit that the Office of the Public Auditor did regarding the procurement of the hotel quarantine facilities kind of early on. And just wondering if you had eyes on the letter and what, if any, your response is to the senator and just kind of the whole issue, because we had BJ on too, and he said that he felt like there were some items in here that your office could work with as far as prosecution. So just if you could kind of unpack that for us.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, Chris and Sabrina, I will say that it's under active review, and it's disingenuous for anyone to say that we're ignoring any letters. I mean, we've been in contact with Senator Blas, and the OPA, he issued his findings. But it's absolutely not true that we're ignoring anyone or not doing anything. Unfortunately, we're living in a time where we elevate sound bites over substance, and talk radio is not really one where you're going to go into nuance, right? So our commitment has been to see through the noise, to make a decision based on law and evidence, and to not base our decision based on casting or strongly worded letters or people coming onto the show and bad-mouthing me. And I do want to just kind of step back and say the OPA, when it's like, okay, the OPA said something was wrong, therefore it's a crime. It's not that simple. And I just want to be very clear about that. Before the OPA issued its findings, the Supreme Court of Guam issued an opinion, and I can read the quote to you, basically saying the Organic Act vests the governor with ultimate authority over quarantine, which includes establishing quarantine facilities. And I know, Chris, you like to ask me, when do I ever disagree with the governor? This is one of those cases where we openly disagree with the governor, and we argue that Section 19605 was organic, and she won before the Supreme Court of Guam. And the Supreme Court of Guam struck down that statute, saying the legislature basically overreached, and that statute interfered with her ability to establish quarantine and to move forward with quarantine measures. So when you're going through your inventory of instances where I disagree with the governor, that's one, and that's one where she prevailed. So, we're not going to be bullied into rushing into judgment. The OPA and the legislature both have authority to take action, and neither of them are doing anything at this point other than sending letters. So we're looking what we can do within the bounds of the law. And, Chris, I just want to point out too, earlier this year, the auditor was on saying his job is to be the procurement police. And he went out and he debarred a vendor. And that was a very big thing. And he took shots at me in his decision. And it seemed to be selective when he's going to kind of put on his police procurement hat and when he's going to kind of kick the can down the road or pass the buck. So I enjoy working with the auditor. This is, again, another situation where we don't necessarily agree on something. And I'm sure I'll be back on the radio, talk with you guys about it. But we're going to do the right thing, and we're going to base our decision based on things that really should be properly done, which is, again, you look at the law and you look at what the facts are.
I'm sorry. Is this
Wow.
Attorney General Leevin Camacho? 'Cause
Hello. Check 1 2.
Good morning.
Where's
the
the
second
AG?
cup of coffee? Well, guys, and I do want to say, I know it's been a while since I've been
Yeah.
on, but we really are working hard here as an office, and we're focusing our resources on emerging issues. And I'll share with you, I was in DC earlier this week. We met with high-level Department of Justice officials, including the Attorney General, who's a very friendly man. And we're looking at trying to build national relationships and to build on resources to reduce violent crime, to move forward with body-worn cameras and to find resources to get to GPD so they can actually implement that and have the funding to store it. We're also looking at improving our use of force policy, and we'll be back on probably in the next month or so as we have more progress. In addition to our independent investigative team, which we rolled out recently, the next piece is going to be use of force training and getting people to come to Guam and actually train our officers and our investigators on what the latest techniques are. So we're going to put our money where our mouth is. And, along those lines and building these types of national alliances that affect people in Guam, we co-authored and co-led a brief in the Supreme Court of the United States with the DC office. And we always put out these press releases, but I will say this is probably the proudest moment I've had so far as an AG, just because the insular cases and the denial of benefits to the people of Guam based on where we live is something that has kind of gotten me into going to law school to begin with. So to lead an effort, to lead it, this is the first time our office has actually been led in something, not just reviewed and contributed to. We've been working with the DC office for months on this issue because, you look at Guam, not only for SSI, supplemental security income, we don't get those types of benefits here. You guys mentioned the Schaller case that's being led by Attorney Rodney Jacob here locally. I mean, it's such an important issue for our blind, for our elderly, and for our disabled who really are denied these benefits for no other reason than the fact they live here. So we pointed out, and not only that, but we have to front 25% of the programs versus SSI, which is 100% federally funded. So it was good to file that, but I think it was really nice to see 16 of our colleagues sign on to our brief, which included the New York Attorney General, and she came out very publicly and she shared it, and she's kind of elevating this discussion on how what a territorial issue is affects those who are living in the States and those who may not be able to move from New York to Puerto Rico because they lose, I think for them, they go from like $540 to $77 in benefits per month by making that move back home to be with family. So it's a very significant issue. I've talked to folks who deal with people with disabilities, and they are hoping the Supreme Court gets it right this time. That argument's set for November of this year. And the last thing, the Pasatiempo case, we were out and I happened to run into the Alaska Attorney General, and I said, hey, we have a case. We got an active warrant for someone who may be out in Alaska. And I'm not joking, within a few days, we coordinated with their office and he was arrested. And we're moving forward with that process. So it's just, we're working with these networks, but at the end of the day, we're trying to problem solve for the people of Guam and to get to work on issues that crime, benefits, and those are the types of issues that we're really putting our effort in. So not to say the procurement is something we're looking at, we are going to review it, but there's a lot that's going on. If I go on next week, I would come on every week and talk to you guys about
We can do it. We got the time, AG. Just say the word.
I know. I want to come on and make sure that I have enough to fill the 20 to 30 minutes that you guys slot for me. But I'm very proud of our office and the work that we've done. I just want to make sure it's clear that we really are laser focused, and even with 60 attorneys here at the office, that's not enough for the amount of issues that we're dealing with as an island, especially with the public health emergency.
We hear from law enforcement, different law enforcement agencies about turnover and the troubles they have in retaining officers. They're losing them to Camp Blas. They're losing them to the federal customs. There's just greener grass all over the place. Do you have that same issue with the attorneys in the AG's office? We have a good core here, Chris. I think this might be the most number of attorneys that we've had. We could always use more in some of our divisions. Our prosecutors are constantly in trial, and anything that we can do to give them mental health breaks in between trials, obviously that's something we're looking at building out. But Chris, I think kind of going back, it's hard to connect this with body-worn cameras and use of force. But our police have really taken a beating lately, and it's you get the sense that our community is just angry all the time at our police officers, and they're the good guys. We're supposed to be the good guys here, and I can just imagine how frustrating it would be to wake up and to go out and to want to do your job the best that you can, and people don't believe you and they don't trust you. So
I'm excited to work with Chief Ignacio on this. Like everything that we're doing is to continue to build more trust. And I think when it's a satisfying and rewarding job, you're more likely to stay on. You don't want police officers who are getting those jobs for the money. You want them, I mean, you are attracted to these positions because you want to serve, you want to protect your community, right? And it should be more important than the paycheck. But if you're not being appreciated by your community, it makes it tougher to go out and protect that same community. So we just have to look at other things that we can do to engage with our community and to kind of let them know that we are the good guys here. And we want to help them. We want to keep everyone safe.
But I also think, though, that, you have, and the chief has said this on the air, that our police officers, they're willing to take a bullet, but they start off so low, where you have people like the poor police officers who make way more money than police officers. Is there anything that can be done to kind of have some parity or equity?
Yeah, I mean, I know that there's a bunch of bills floating around.
Yeah.
And I can't really comment on that.
Yeah.
Because we work with all of them. But, at the end of the day, just law enforcement as a whole. I mean, look, we're involved in investigations involving law enforcement. We've filed charges against of individuals. So, I understand, but I think the most hurtful part really is just this idea that the police are on our side.
Yeah.
And, I'm hearing that more and more. And that's what we just have to show our law enforcement, that they're doing their best to stay within the confines of the law, to not abuse their positions. And we need to show them a lot of appreciation actually for the jobs they're doing.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to get back to Pasatiempo real quickly. Has he already been extradited back to Guam?
So there's a hearing set for next week,
Okay.
And I can just say that we're looking at options and we're moving forward, and we'll provide an update. It's probably within the next few weeks on the status.
Any update on the ORDOT case?
So we are awaiting an appointment of a new judge, and every circuit's kind of dealing with this. So we're kind of in a holding pattern at this point. But we have been in contact with the Department of Justice. They're the folks who are handling the ORDOT case, and we're just waiting to see when the next hearing is going to be set. But we plan on a few things moving forward, probably again within the next few weeks on our side.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of the Justice Department, they are suing the Government of Guam Retirement Fund, alleging violations, I believe, of USERRA, and citing the Government of Guam's leave sharing program. Is the AG's office representing the retirement fund?
I believe the retirement fund has their own attorney,
Okay.
but I want to say the Department of Administration has also been identified as a defendant. So we are involved in that case. And I'm not sure, what I can say is that we basically have a conflict. We have a statute that expressly says this, you don't apply a certain credit under these circumstances. So we're defending the statute at this point because we don't believe it's in a clear conflict with the federal statute. But that's the legislature made a decision not to allow certain types of leave sharing or to give benefit or credit under certain types of situations, and that's what the issue is before the court.
Okay. Anything else?
Did you update the use of force policy?
So, Chris, with that, we're planning on having a meeting with them probably the third week of October, and we'll be circulating. We're working with GPD first before we circulate it with all law enforcement partners. The goal is going to be to have one single use of force policy, and from there we may, I'm going to ask that we potentially do a kind of round table or open house, and we'll circulate the draft with the community to provide feedback as well.
Mm-hmm. And I just wanted to follow up on this body cam.
Yeah.
What is that about?
So the body worn cameras, I know that part of it, funding's always an issue no matter what, but it's been the storage, and we're looking at the federal government in particular offers grants to help local agencies stand up these programs and to get funding so that and across the country, when you're in these meetings, you realize everyone wants these. Police officers want them, the community wants them, because it kind of just resolves any questions. Okay, under the circumstances that I'm required to use a body cam, and so the Department of Justice just recently issued a memo that all of their task force agents and I believe federal law enforcement are required to use body cameras under certain circumstances. So we're just trying to do whatever we can as an office to move that forward and to see what other resources may be available for funding in particular, so that we can help the chief of police and Guam Police Department get that off the ground.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Okay.
Beaver Friday. Have a nice
Hey,
day.
right on. CAG. There you go. Feistier than usual. Attorney General Leevin Camacho saying that he won't be bullied into taking action in response to Senator Frank Blas Jr.'s letters that he sent over to the AG relative to the procurement that was performed by the governor's former legal counsel and son-in-law. Felt like he took a couple of shots at our show, too. But hey, miss a link, miss a lot, so don't miss it.
Also, just real quickly, we got something from GPD. Route 1, Polaris Point, north and southbound lanes are impassable at this time. So motorists